Hari Prabhuji.
Yes,
Oh, go
please.
ahead, Ji.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Madam.
Prabhuji. Okay, ठीक है. Translation. Vaishrila Prabhupada ji ki jai. Hare Krishna. Translation. O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless, but those within this material world are all karmis, whether acting piously or impiously. Both kinds of actions are possible for them because they are contaminated by the three modes of nature and must act accordingly. One who has accepted a material body cannot be inactive, and sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the mode of material nature. Therefore, all the living entities within this material world are punishable. Purport. The difference between human beings and non-human beings is that the human is supposed to act according to the direction of Vedas. Unfortunately, men manufacture their own ways of acting without reference to the Vedas. Therefore, all of them commit sinful actions and are punishable. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Madam. Now, very important point here. This is a very important consideration. Now we're going to talk about the significance of the Vedas. We have talked about the origin of Vedas. Now, Krishna is saying, Vedasya sarvar aham eva vedya, Vedanta krit vedvid eva chaham. I am the creator, I am the originator of, I am the origin of Vedas. Now, one very important point that is like a very important consideration here is, why are Vedas significant? So many times, actually, this is very important for devotees. So many times, people are arguing, okay, modern scientific theories are like this. So why should we refer to the Vedas? Vedic knowledge is so old, it's obsolete now. We can see, for example, moon landing or some kind of things. Oh, our astronomical sciences are so advanced, or our medical sciences are so advanced. Why should we follow? So this is actually a consideration that we are now discussing here. Material world invariably is full of sin only. Atmendriya priti vancha tare kahe kam. Any action that we take, for our sense gratification is sinful. Jivo jivasya jivanam. We are violating the will of the Supreme Lord. Actually, we are violating the will of the Supreme Lord simply by being in this material world. He doesn't want us to be here. So simply by being here, we are sinful. So therefore, any activity which is furthering our duration within this material world is also to be considered sinful. Vedas are offering us a way to get out of this sinful condition. Like for example, when an aeroplane is flying, the sky is a very dangerous place. Or when the ships are flying in the seas are very dangerous. So these ships, these aeroplanes, they need guidance. So there are navigational systems which are guiding them. Otherwise, imagine an old, like a ship in the waters, it has no idea where it is supposed to go. A ship will set sail and it has no idea where to go. Like it just knows, okay, Europe lies to the west and it starts flying in the sea. It will drown eventually because the captain will never be able to find any path because the ocean is so vast. Just like that, an aeroplane takes off in the sky. He cannot see the land and think, okay, now I'll go in that direction. No, there must be guidance. So Veda, because it's dangerous, the aeroplane flying in the sky without any guidance will eventually run out of fuel and fall down or run into a storm and crash. Likewise for a ship also. It won't be able to find its route. It will just simply run into some storms and waves and eventually drown. So a living entity in the material world, if he is simply guided by his own senses, is also like a ship without any guidance, without any navigation. In this material world, one will simply act on the basis of the mind. Manaha shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. One will simply act on the desires of the mind and will degrade himself. For example, here in the West, actually, West is a perfect example of what a misguided civilization actually means. Because it is a civilization which is very developed, but at the same time completely misguided. So we can see there is sophisticated science and technology, but the culture is agnostic. It's not atheistic, it's agnostic. Atheistic culture means denial of God, but agnostic culture means the concept of God itself doesn't exist. So in such a culture, what do people do? They just follow their own desires. So they'll do anything. Anything is possible. For example, in Singapore, one of the delicacies is aborted fetuses. So aborted fetus is a delicacy in Singapore. It's very, very expensive, but people do eat it. Or here in the West also, like for example, so many obnoxious things are eaten up, like pig's meat and other things are eaten because everything is nutrition. In the absence of Vedic knowledge, one will only look at the material nature and will try to find a way. So I have a body, it must be healthy. So I'll eat meat. I must enjoy this body, so I must have sex. Actually, there are Vedic injunctions strictly regulating sex life and eating. But in the absence of knowledge, people will do anything. So a woman will have three, four husbands, a husband will have three, four wives. All this will go on because, hey, it's all right. It's just a biological act. No, there's such heavy sinful karma associated with it. Or eating. So, you just need nutrition, you need vitamins, you need proteins, you need carbohydrates. No, that's not how Vedas talk. Ayurveda actually explains that nourishment does not come from food. Nourishment comes from tapasya, from austerity. So, Bhim wasn't so strong because he was eating truckloads of food. Bhim was strong because he was austere. He was pure. That gave him the strength. Even the Kauravas, like Dushasan, had the strength of 10,000 elephants. That was the strength of austerity. So, otherwise, why people are today not so strong? Because they are not austere. So, Vedic understanding is from the perspective of the soul. The so-called scientific and modern scientific understanding is from the perspective of the body. Therefore, they are at times diametrically opposite. So Vedas are guiding us out of this ocean of sin which is known as material nature. So they are telling us, okay, you can do this much, you can do that much, please get out of here. For example, a ship on a stormy sea, which is having guidance, will still run into waves. It will still face a heavy storm, but it will not drown because the navigation system will tell it, which way to go, where to avoid the strongest parts of storm. So Vedas are telling us what are the least sinful activities by which one can become purified. So that's why they are dealing with the three modes of nature. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. They are dealing with the three modes of nature because the living entity is in the modes of nature. Vedas are not trying to drown us into the laws of karma. Vedas are trying to deliver us. So if one is a grossly sinful Shudra, still Vedas will have some ways to slowly guide him out of that conditioning. That's why Vedas are important. And those who violate the laws of Veda are strictly punishable. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Anyone who's preaching can do. You also don't have any questions here? Okay, we continue. Text 45. Yena yavan yatha dharmo.
येन यावान् यथा धर्मो
Dharmo veha samihita.
धर्मो वेदः
Sa eva tat phalam bhukte.
स एव तत्फलं भुङ्क्ते
Tatha tavad amutravay.
तावत् अमूत्रवै
Yes, please.
Krishna Janva Translation purport by Sripad Ki. Translation. In proportion to the extent of one's religious or irreligious actions in this life, one must enjoy or suffer the corresponding reactions of his karmas in the next. Purport. As is stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.18. Urdhvam gacchati sattva ste madhye tisthite tajasa jagane munarivritti sataha adhro gachanti tamasha. Those who act in the mode of goodness or promote to the higher are promoted to the higher planetary systems to become demigods. Those who act in an ordinary way and do not commit excessively sinful acts remain within this middle planetary system. And those who perform abominable, sinful action must go down to the hellish life. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandat pranam. See, Krishna is saying, Ye yatha vam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. So, mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Every law, every action, the direction for every action is coming from Krishna only. Even those who are atheistic or agnostic, they are also acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Bhramyami sarva bhutani yantrarunani mayaya. So that's Paramatma within the heart is directing even the agnostic. In fact, the very knowledge and faith to be an agnostic is also coming from the Lord only. That's the situation. So one may falsely think that he's very advanced, but in reality, everything is actually acting is by the instruction of the Supreme Lord only. So if one has pious inclinations, the Lord inspires him to act piously. If one has sinful inclinations, the Lord inspires him to act sinfully. The Lord himself is not willing in this case. It's the desire of the living entity. The Lord is merely fulfilling it. So those who are in the mode of goodness, those who are trying to get out of the clutches of material energy, they are promoted to higher planets. Now, very important point is that if the efforts of transcendence are also falling short somewhat, one will be promoted to heavenly planets to fulfill all the desires in a much pious manner. The demigods are not violating the laws of nature as wildly as human beings are or demons are. So one is given an opportunity to fulfill one's desires, and then when one is satiated, then he gets the family birth in the family of brahmanas or very rich people, depending on his desires, because he's already qualified himself. Those who act in an ordinary way and do not commit excessively sinful acts remain within this middle planetary system. So those who are in the mode of passion, they take birth in human form, and those who are abominable, they go down to hellish life. So hellish life means all these kind of lives. You see hyenas living in the deserts, or lions in the grass plains, or tigers in the jungle. That's not a very pious life. That's not a very happy life. That's a hellish life. Yes, one will be punished in the hell, and one will be brought again to suffer on the middle planetary systems also. Yes. So we can. Yes, please. You have a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, from the previous and this verse together, if we look into what Prabhupada ji has taught, Prabhupada ji gave a Kripan theory, right? कि Kripan kaun hai? So based on that, understandable, religious or religious, both Kripan if they are not Krishna conscious. But if we look through a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, those who are religious, who are doing dan, yes, yag, tap, dan, though not Krishna conscious, but still they are doing it. Eventually, they are getting onto the path of renunciation. कि अपना कुछ निकाल के, you're giving it away. So you're renouncing your own things to someone else. चाहे cause Krishna conscious नहीं है, but at least learning renunciation. So eventually, with the devotees' mercy or with somebody's, association, eventually they'll get onto the right path. So if that is the case, so why are they getting punished? Like, I understand from Krishna conscious sense, makes perfect sense. But eventually they will be learning to renounce. So then why are they getting punished?
Who's getting punished?
मतलब ये लिखा ना दोनों जाने इवन के रिलीजियस को भी ऊपर वाला like heavenly planet system दे दिया, right? But heavenly planet system, they don't know what's good for them. They think it's good, but it's actually not. नहीं?
So you see, there is still some desire in the heart. Kardam Muni, now Kardam Muni cannot be described as materialistic in any sense of the word. But he still had a desire to enjoy family life. He still had a desire to enjoy family. Now, that is not a very good desire, really, for someone who has seen the Lord face to face. That is still on a material plane. But you see, for example, on a sea beach, where is land and where is sea? If you're standing in water which is like your ankle deep, is that water or is it land?
Don't know.
So technically it is water, but practically it is land, isn't it? Like you're still wet, but you're not in any danger. So the higher planetary systems and the very end of materialistic life is practically 100% spiritual, though there may be still some material desires left. So Lord is happy to fulfill those desires and get them out of the way of the sadhaka. So there is still some traces of false ego left. So Lord understands. So these living entities are not being punished. They are being given an opportunity. And of course, in a way, it is like a punishment only because they will still suffer. Brahma bhuvana loka punaravartino Arjuna. So they will still have to suffer birth, old age, disease, and death. At least, like in heavenly planets, at least birth and death, they'll still have to see. It may not be very painful, but it will still be there. So,
Prabhuji, ये तो, oh sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is like a minor distraction because see, they are still distracted from Krishna. They're still not 100% in Krishna consciousness. They may be very pious souls, almost Vishuddha Sattva, but not still Vishuddha Sattva. So those trace material desires have to be fulfilled in material plane only. So they will be fulfilled, and once they are completely satiated, then they will surrender completely and go back to Krishna. See, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Now, this is a very profound statement actually. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Nothing else. Not my family, not my property, not my education, not my health. No. Vasudeva. Everything is Vasudeva. So one devotee was asking me this question, have you seen some self-realized soul in this life? So yes, we can give the example of Jayanand Prabhu. He lived exactly by this diktat. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. When he got cancer, he did not even bother to get treatment. So until one is at that level, one is not going back to Godhead directly. But even if one is not situated at that level, Krishna is not going to let him go. So, someone has served Krishna with his heart. Some contamination is still remaining. So Krishna will allow one to fulfill those desires, but he will not lose track of Krishna. Like, for example, Gopakumar, when he went to Indralok, he did not lose track of Krishna at all. In any planet that Gopakumar went, he was seeing Krishna wherever he went. So even though he was within the material plane, he was still completely in touch with the Supreme.
अब दो क्वेश्चंस और हैं, सॉरी प्रभु जी।
No problem.
एक तो आपने अभी साधका की बात करी, वो तो चलो समझ में आता है, कृष्णा इज फुलफिलिंग द जो भी कचरा रह गया मन में, ही स्टिल फुलफिलिंग, बीइंग सो मर्सीफुल। पर फॉर अ साधक टू दैट्स वेरी रिस्की, नो? ठीक है, कृष्णा इज गोना बी हेल्पिंग विद हिज भक्ति, ओके, मेक सेंस। अब अगर ऑर्डिनरी इंसान की बात करें जो कृष्ण कॉन्शियस नहीं है, ठीक है, पर वो रिलीजियस है, क्यों? क्योंकि दे नो नथिंग बेटर। So for those people, yes, they are still crippled but they know nothing better. हो सकता है किसी डिवोटी के संग में आके कभी वो प्योर हो जाए, पर एटलीस्ट दे आर रिलीजियस, they are better than the irreligious people. फिर what happens to those?
They'll go to heaven and then they'll take another material birth. See, they are still in material
That's
plane.
risky too, though.
Yeah, that
That's
is very
risky
risky.
for them. Heaven में जाके तो और खराब हो जाएंगे।
हाँ, तो होंगे ही होंगे. You think demigods are all very pure living entities? They are sattvic, but not that. The jealousy and all exists in heavenly planets also. Why Indra is getting envious of Krishna? Of course, that's a transcendental act. Krishna has induced that, but still, it's like an instruction that, when one is excessively addicted to power, then one will get into such things. We're going to see the story of Chitraketu Maharaj actually soon. I think the 7th or 8th canto, I don't remember now, but story of Chitraketu is going to come, where we'll see exactly what happens when one is, not very, very observant of rules and regulations. So we'll see Chitraketu Maharaj himself, and we'll see Indra also suffering. So you see, please try to understand it this way, that any trace of material contamination within the heart can cause us deviation. Vishwamitra Muni was practicing brahmacharya for 10,000 years in Himalayas, and he was in the Vedic times. That means society was well cultured. And still he was attracted to Menka. Now, of course, Menka is like exceedingly beautiful, but we can see that material attraction exists within the heart, except for Narad Muni and the four Kumaras. There's no one who is immune to the attraction of the opposite sex. No one. Like, the scriptures are making this broad sweeping statement. So we have to respect it. No one. Like Srila Prabhupada. Like Srila Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they are pure souls. They are Nitya Siddha. They are Shaktiavesh. But still they observe this etiquette of avoiding feminine association. Later on, like after 1970, Prabhupada was not associating so freely with Matajis. So you see, one should be very observant of the rules and regulations of the Vedas. Now, one important point that you have raised and now I'm trying to answer is like this, there is some trace material element within the heart. So that desire needs to be fulfilled. if that is not fulfilled, it will still remain there. It won't go anywhere. One should be careful enough to have wiped out all material desires before death comes. अंतकाले च माम एव स्मरन् भुक्त्वा कलेवरम यह प्रयाति समत भाव याति नास्ति चित्र संशय. So यह प्रयाति समत भाव, he attains to my nature, but at that time antakale cha mam eva smaran muktva, one who only thinks of me at the time of death. So one who is only able to focus on Krishna. So it's not about thinking. Actually, thoughts are inspired by our feelings. What we feel, we think of that. So if we are thinking only of Krishna all the time, then eventually we'll be able to think of Krishna at the time of death, because that time pain will be intense. There will be so much mental and physical agony. So if we are now taking shelter of Krishna, at that time we'll cry helplessly for Krishna. So we should practice now. So at that time, when that horrible circumstance comes, even if we are not able to say, at least in our heart we'll cry out for Krishna. And then Krishna will save us.
Just a random comment, not related to this, just a random comment. We say every single trace of the desire needs to be vanquished. At some point it seems like जब थोड़े से desire आ गए, कृष्णा को मर्सी करनी चाहिए कि बस अब निकाल दूं. Weed them out rather than fulfilling. At that point it seems like मर्सी नहीं चाहिए, weed out चाहिए.
So that is also a desire. See, the desire to be free from material desires itself is the first stage of liberation. And this is what Srila Rupa Goswami is mentioning in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So a liberated soul is one who thinks, when will that day come when I'll have no possessions, I'll wander from forest to forest and hills and mountains, just meditating on the Lord. And look at my condition now. I'm a householder. I have so many of my own mentally created difficulties. I'm just living in my own, I'm a victim of my own desires. When will that day come when I'll be truly free from everything and only meditating on the Lord? That itself is actually first stage of liberation. But that must come as a sincere desire. Not simply speaking,
Yes.
Prabhu, I feel like this. And then I'm going out and watching some Bollywood movie
Yes.
dancing in parties. No, it must come as a sincere desire from within the heart that I don't want any of this. My Lord, I am in it. Just like a sick man, a sick man always lies in his bed and he prays, let me be free of this sickness. When will that day come when I'll walk freely in good health? So we should also think like this, that we are sick, our mental desires are sick. When will that day come when I'm free from all these desires and, only thinking of Krishna? So yes, so Krishna can do that mercy, but one should not try to cheat Krishna. One should sincerely try to purify oneself. Then if something remains, Mahaprabhu, because we are followers of Mahaprabhu, we should not try to jump to Radha and Krishna directly. What's that verse? There's that verse that comes in Narottam Das Thakur's song. Gaurangera Shangi Gane, Nitya Siddha Kori Mane, Je Se Jaye Brajendra Sut Pas. So one who considers the Panchatattva to be eternally liberated, he definitely goes back to Krishna. The problem is, especially in our movement, people think that Lord Chaitanya is out of fashion. Radha and Krishna are like, the it thing. They are the thing. Who worships Mahaprabhu, Gaur Nitai? That's not just some poor Bengalis. That's not just some, sentimental Bengalis in Bengal. We are Radha Krishna worshippers. No, that's a dangerous fallacy. And I don't know why within our ISKCON we don't preach so much about Mahaprabhu. Actually, in this age, we should only worship Mahaprabhu. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. I mean, this verse comes in Prabhupada quotes it in different ways. Mahaprabhu Shri Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. But the gist is the same. If you want to worship Radha and Krishna, if you're really so much in Madhurya Gopi Bhav, worship Mahaprabhu. Everyone loves to sing Radha Krishna Prana Mura Jugala Kishore Jivane Marane Gati Ara Nahi More. So that is, that's just Sahajaism nonsense. Actually, that's just their latent sex desire which is manifesting in the form of some pseudo devotion. No, one should, if one really loves Radha and Krishna, if one really is in that bhav, he should melt at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Who is Gaur Gadadhar? I mean, these are deities also. Gaur Gadadhar, that's Radha and Krishna. So one should worship very sincerely Lord Chaitanya if one really wants Radha and Krishna.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. That was very
Hare
nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. I was just thinking about this heavenly planets. That how does it then work? The same you mentioned the
Breaking.
okay. Hare Krishna. So I was just thinking that how does it work then when you are trying these heavenly planets? And
Again.
yeah. So I'm just thinking that how does it work that when you attain these heavenly planets, because there the enjoyment is so much more compared here. Like Prabhupada said to this when this Krishna Chandra Swami passed away, that he went to the priest to heavenly planets. So is it then that the devotee can kind of even from there to continue to further even up to the Krishna? But if you are not so fixed devotee, then you will just fall back from there. Or how does it work?
Hmm. The question is, what is the position in the heavenly planets? Can a devotee preach? Mahaprabhu Srila Prabhupada said that Vishnujan Swami has gone to heavenly planets to preach, and from there he'll proceed to spiritual world. See, Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasvargam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The one who has already tasted, like let's take the case study of Vishnujan Swami himself and what Srila Prabhupada spoke about him. Vishnujan Swami was very dear to Prabhupada. Prabhupada loved him so much that he would chastise him also. Any small deviation and Prabhupada would chastise him heavily. Others he would just let go, but Vishnujan Swami no, because he held him very dear. So the thing is like this. If someone has relished the association of Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan introduced by Lord Srila Prabhupada, he will not find heavenly opulence so much. Like so many devotees have come to West also. Like I know one of my god brothers, he has lived in the West, but he doesn't like it anymore. He somehow managed and then he went back, lives in Mayapur. See, one who has really tasted Krishna consciousness, for him there is no pleasure left. I mean, I know so many aspiring devotees who live in the West who are like completely blinded by the beauty of the West. Oh my God, Prabhu, how can you think of leaving Finland or Europe or what? It is so nice. So, because they haven't tasted Krishna yet, they're trying, that's nice. But unless they have really, ground themselves in Krishna consciousness, they'll not be able to see the beauty in it. So, if a devotee is not very fixed in devotion, he has done some service and gone to heavens, he will most likely fall down. But someone who has really worked in Krishna consciousness and he has tasted it, for him, heavenly opulence will have no meaning. Like, what do you want to see? Indra watching some dancing girls for like whole day? What pleasure will be there? You'd probably want to sit with Indra and discuss Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita because he can see Lord Upendra, he can meet Narad Muni. Yeah, you'll probably be thrilled when you see Narad Muni or Angira Rishi coming there. You'll say, oh, yes, I read about you in Bhagavatam. Prabhupada told me about you. And most probably you'll see Srila Prabhupada himself there. So that will be thrilling for you. Then you wouldn't want to see all these apsaras and dancing in their mundane beauty and all that. What taste will be there? Especially, this knowledge is not lost. Nehapi kramo nashosti pratyavayuna vidyate. So this will not be lost. This knowledge of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, this will not be lost because this is transcendental. This impression you will carry in the heavenly planets also. And when you see the heavenly beauty, immediately you will be reminded, Ah Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. You will think, okay, what is the use of this? It may be 10,000 years, but again I'll have to suffer. So yes, because it is heaven, you will enjoy something. The food will be good. There will be no 30, 47 degree summers or minus 20 degree winter. Weather will be nice. There will be nice gardens. You'll relish it, but you'll relish the holy names more. You will be eager to meet Narad Muni, Angira Rishi, and all these great sages who travel up and down. So you will relish their association more. And when you associate with Narad Muni, you know very well what are the results. So many people who wanted so many things met Narad Muni, and what happened there. So this is also, one reason why one should not fear going into heavenly planets. Because these great souls are waiting for you. And Krishna will tell them beforehand, this soul is coming here now. So please take care. So Narad Muni will probably know already who you are. and why you have reached there. So he'll be waiting for you. Narad Muni is very compassionate. It's like personification of compassion. Even at the risk of getting cursed and abused, Narad Muni does not hesitate to deliver any living entity he meets. So these are the kind of personalities also who exist in heavenly planets. Heavens are not just some hedonistic planets. There are some very pious souls also there. So yes, you have to purify yourself. That's your responsibility. But Krishna will also put his efforts. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. If you have sincerely desired Krishna but could not purify yourself, you landed up in heavenly planets, Krishna is waiting there for you. Lord Vamandev will come. He's Indra's brother. He'll come and meet you. Oh yes, you are thinking about me. So what do you want now? So all this is very much possible. Yes. So we continue. Text 46. Yatheha deva pravaras
Yatheha deva pravaras
traividyam upalabhyate
traividyam upalabhyate
bhuteshu guna vaichitrayat
bhuteshu guna vaichitrya
tathanyatra numiyate.
तथा यन्यत्र नुमीयते.
Yes.
May I read from you?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Right.
Translation. O best of the demigods, we can see three different varieties of life which are due to the contamination of the three modes of nature. The living entities are thus known as peaceful, restless, and foolish, as happy, unhappy, or in between, or as religious, irreligious, and semi-religious. We can deduce that in the next life, these three kinds of material nature will similarly act. Purport. The actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature are visible in this life. For example, some people are very happy, some are very distressed, and some are in mixed happiness and distress. This is a result of past association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Since these varieties are visible in this life, we may assume that the living entities, according to their association with the different modes of material nature, will be happy, distressed, or between the two in their next lives also. Therefore, the best policy is to disassociate oneself from the three modes of material nature and be always transcendental to their contamination. This is possible only when one fully engages in the devotional service of the Lord. As Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam cha yo avivicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatithyayitan brahma bhutayate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the spiritual platform. Unless one is fully absorbed in the service of the Lord, one is subject to the contamination of the three modes of material nature and must therefore suffer from distress, mixed happiness, and distress. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, Mam yo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatithyayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Very, very interesting verse actually. And a very scary verse also if you pay very careful attention. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the spiritual platform. One who engages in the one who does not fall down. You know, apratihata, ahetukya apratihata yayatma suprasiddhi. So Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto mentions, Savaya pumsham paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahetukya apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. So if you do not want to fall down from devotional service, the devotional service must be ahetuki, apratihata. How does one fall down from devotional service? If one has some material desires within the heart, if one is worshipping Krishna with some motive, Krishna will immediately fulfill it. So, of course, unless one is like seriously praying, then Krishna will not fulfill. But if one is not very serious in bhakti, Krishna will fulfill all the desires. See, Krishna is seeking our association also. If we are eager to see Krishna, Krishna is also eager to see us actually. Actually, Krishna's eagerness to see us is practically infinite. We cannot really estimate how much eager Krishna is actually there to see us. Like Prabhupada says, you take one step towards Krishna, Krishna will take 10 steps towards you. But what is your one step and what is Krishna's step? So you can imagine how eager Krishna is to see us. But he understands that many of us are not really serious. So, in order to purify us, he shows his causeless mercy, and if we have some desire, he immediately fulfills it. So Krishna is also testing us. Do you really want me, or you just want my opulence? So he'll give his opulence. Take this, take this, take this. And when a devotee is steadfast and he says, no, I don't want anything, nothing, then Krishna is forced to surrender himself. See, ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamiham. So if your surrender has some motivation, Krishna will also surrender with motive. Okay, so you are doing this for puja la pratishtha, he will give as much as you want. You will become a celebrity. You'll be also talking about life secrets. You'll talk about many things. You'll become millionaire. You'll become super rich. You'll be worshipped by all the fools in this world. So Krishna will fulfill these desires. But if you don't want anything, you keep on rejecting whatever Krishna is sending your way. Eventually, Krishna is forced to appear himself in front of you. Srila Prabhupada got so many things. I mean, what was lacking for Srila Prabhupada? He had all the wealth, all the people, everything. Puja, la, pratishtha was to the extreme. But Prabhupada did not accept anything. He did not accept anything for himself. He, apratihata, ahetukya. He was ahetuki. So therefore, he also became apratihata. Who could hinder his path when he had no motives? So if one is rendering selfless devotional service, then Krishna will completely, will be forced to surrender himself to you. Of course, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Krishna is saying, Nirdvando Nitya Sattvastho Niryoga Kshemam Atmavan. So, rise above the modes of nature, be transcendental, be free from dualities and anxieties, gain and safety, and be established in the self. Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Be established in the self. So this selfless service is only possible when we detach ourselves from the modes of nature. And for that, we have to chant very sincerely. We have to pray, like a helpless cry of a child for his mother. Try to see how miserable this material world is, and then try to surrender to Krishna. You will fall short, definitely. You will fall short, but Krishna will notice that this soul has tried. So try very hard. Nistraya Gunya Bhavarjuna. Rise above these three modes. These three modes will only bring you suffering. Understand it theoretically. Keep repeating to yourself. Eventually, you will become free from these modes. Okay? Any questions or comments here? Okay, then we stop here today. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.